Hello. Welcome back. This is the Synchronicity podcast / YouTube channel. Thanks for being here. If you're new, welcome. If you're back, we love you. Thank you for being here and continuing to listen. We are the co-founders. I'm Megan.
I'm Nicole.
And we are here to change your brain and change your life. And by doing that, we teach you all about lots of things like microdosing the brain, relationships, communication, you name it. If you want to know more, visit our website or watch more of our videos, listen to our other podcasts, and or post below and ask us some random question and see if we know the answer, because that's always fun too. I think I covered everything. That's pretty much it. All right, so today is a big topic. We're going to talk about communication from feminine to masculine. So that's speaking as a feminine core to a masculine core. And what I mean by feminine core is, doesn't matter what kind. It doesn't matter if you were born male or female. We all have an inner core, which is how we feel best, right? Some people feel best being cherished. Other people feel best being respected. Feminine cores feel best being cherished, and masculine cores feel best, or do best, really is a better way to say that. Masculine cores do best when they are respected.
Yeah, I mean, it means usually feminine is cherished first and then respected. Masculine is respected first, then cherished. I can't remember the word for a second.
Yeah, so it's when we go into a relationship, we become interdependent, right? We give up our freedom on both ends, male or female, in order to be part of a unit and feel fulfilled and work towards something, right? So what the feminine cores do is give up being respected so that they can respect. And masculine cores give up feelings in order to be respected. So everybody wants to be cherished and respected, but the problem is if you bring that need or want into a relationship without being willing to sacrifice, that's where we get narcissistic tendencies. It doesn't mean you're a full-blown narcissist. It just means you have narcissistic tendencies. And usually one of your parents was a 10 and the other one was a 0. So we like 5 and 5, not 10 and 0. So interdependence is giving up one side of us in order to be part of a relationship or part of something greater. And sacrifice is just part of a relationship. So if you don't want that and you want to stay being respected and cherished, just stay single and don't enter a relationship, because then you're a bully and you're bullying your partner, and it's just like not a good look. It's where you get codependency. So with that being said, if you have any questions about that, comment below. We could always expand on this more because it's kind of complex, but
very complex. It's very complex. So I think it really does come down to how you're communicating. That's one big thing that we do is we teach people how to communicate properly from their core, because women, if you want to be cherished, you have to communicate what you don't want, what doesn't feel good, or how I feel. When you're constantly flipping back and forth, like if a woman wants to be cherished, but she's always demanding, I want and I think, well, your masculine is going to be like, I'm so confused right now, because men, especially masculine men and masculine core-based men, if you tell them something, I think, it's man to man. Right. Men think and solve problems. Right. Men function to help women solve their problem. So if they say, if a woman goes to a masculine man, feminine core goes to a masculine core and says, this doesn't feel good, I don't want this, he literally automatically will go into problem-solving mode and say, I think we should do X, Y, and Z, because he is programmed to fix problems. He is programmed to protect. He is programmed to cherish. So when you're using these two simple phrases of I feel whatever, I don't want whatever, then it allows him to you're actually respecting him with your words, and you're guiding him into how he can cherish you. And then at the same time, you're respecting him by allowing him to take care and protect you.
Yeah, and we did a whole class on the male brain. So if this like is something where you're like, oh my gosh, I don't really understand fully what you're saying, but I want to know more or understand it, or if you have a son or a boyfriend or a husband or like, or a partner, right? Because this is not about, the body you were born into. You even get feminine and masculine in gay couples, lesbian couples. There's a masculine energy, there's a feminine energy. So it's all about choosing what core feels best and then finding the opposite core so that you can be in a functional, happy relationship. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, what men do, male brain, right-handed male brains go from the MSN part of the brain, which is the mirror neurons. They spend a fraction of a second there. Women stay in that because that's where empathy comes from. We feel empathetic. We're mirroring our girlfriends or whoever. Men go from the MSN part of the part of the brain to the TPJ, which is the temporal portal. Anyway, it's the problem-solving part of the brain. And we talk all about this in our male brain class, and it's quite fascinating because it disproves a lot of the narrative that's going on right now, that men and women are the same and all of these things. Actually, our brains are completely different. A feminine brain, female brain is a lot more empathetic than a typical masculine testosterone-based brain. So they're programmed to solve problems, which means that they want to lead the relationship. And feminine guides, masculine leads. So I always tell women, they're like, when they get really, or feminine cores, when they get confused, I'm like, the man is the ship, you are the ocean, right? So the ocean is really the powerhouse, but when
the ship doesn't know that.
Yeah, the ship isn't like told, well, this is what's happening. It just kind of guides it wherever it wants it to go. So what that means is we allow the masculine to lead. And if we have an issue with what they're leading us to, we bring it up with, that does not feel good, or I do not want to do that because it doesn't feel good, or I don't feel comfortable. We lead with our feelings. Feelings mean change needed, right? Because masculine functions off challenge, feminine functions off encouragement. So it's a really good way to figure out like, oh, okay. Because in today's world, we, more so than at any other point in time, we have more feminine cores in penis-based bodies and more masculine cores in vagina-based bodies than ever before. So, and some of that is trauma and some of that is just the way that it is. If you would have met me like 10 years ago, you would have thought I was a masculine core. Once I started on my healing path, now I realize I'm very much a feminine core. I was just very confused because of, a lot of the feminist movement and things like that is not really conducive to being a functional feminine core because it doesn't allow men to take up space. And I know that can be very controversial. It's not that we don't believe in women's rights and things like that. We totally do. We just go about it very differently. And if you want us to do a podcast on that, let us know. I just do not believe in equality. I think that equals fight. I believe that men and women are very different. And we are actually very compatible when we are in our differences and working together as a team. Not when we're pitting ourselves as men against men. Because the way that the current world is puts women in their masculine and then pits them against men. And that, in my opinion, is modern day feminism. And it doesn't work. We're creating, that's why the divorce rate is like 75%. And there's just a lot of things. I think there's better ways to go about it. Do you have anything to elaborate on that?
Well, I think it just breaks it down. You can't do two Freds in a relationship. And if you're communicating as a man, then you want to be the man. So decide what you want to be. Decide if you want to be a vagina body in a feminine core. So you're going to lead with your feelings. You're going to tell them what you don't want, or you're going to be a penis body, feminine core, and you're going to lead with your feelings, or vice versa. Like, but I think a lot of this is society is not having the conversation or understanding of, like, it all breaks down to communication. True. Even the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, they don't actually talk about communication. They don't tell you how to communicate. And right. It's very simple feelings, thoughts. That it's literally that easy. One leads with the heart, feminine, I feel, this doesn't feel good, I don't want this. Masculine, head, I think, I want, I'm doing. So, they make it so complex, and it's really not that complex. You just have to decide what energy you want to be in and just stay in it. And don't play this flip-flop, fuck around and find out game, because it normally ends in divorce.
Yeah.
100%.
Again, 75% divorce rate. The man hate and the toxic masculinity and all of these things, there's ways that we work around that, which is through, I feel, that doesn't feel good. If you're with a man that's an asshole and doesn't care about your feelings, you walk away. We fight for equity, not equality. And equity makes a high value relationship of interdependence, not codependence, and allows two people to take up space in a relationship and feel happy and do better and be of service to humanity and society, have functional children. We believe, well, in a lot of things, this is a totally different rabbit hole, but it's just important to state that we all have masculine and feminine energy. And at work, like right now, Nicole and I are masculine. Everybody at work is a man.
But I'm doing something right now.
Yeah. If people are asking about your feelings at work, then we've got a problem.
I'm not asking Megan about her feelings right now.
If we're, working is very thinking based. So everybody's masculine at work. The problem becomes, or really the integrity comes, of what you are in your house, depending on your agreements with your partner. And so if you're a feminine core and you're a boss bitch at work, cool, good for you. But it's time to leave your plastic ball sack
in the glove compartment,
in your car, whatever. Don't bring it into your house, because if you have that agreement that you're the feminine energy and in the relationship, then we don't want to bring our boss bitch attitude through the door, because you're going to start fighting with your husband. Sex is going to go out the window. You're not going to feel cherished. He's not going to feel respected. And you're both going to start fighting for power. And then we've got a problem, because healthy relationships fight for potency, not for power.
Well, and as a feminine talking to masculine, like that's, mainly what this podcast is, feminine to masculine communication. Let him fucking lead. Let him do his job. Let him be a man. And if you don't know what that is, go back and listen to the Per Arturnus podcast about mothering. But it's really simple. Let him plan, let him make a decision, and let him fail. Quite frankly, if you go back to the analogy of the sailor, the captain in the ship, he has a plan. He has his sails. He's made a decision where he's going. Let him. And if it doesn't feel right, like Megan said, lead with your feelings. Don't tell him he's wrong. Don't be like, that's wrong.
Don't nag.
Don't nag.
And don't say,
don't be a
so.
bitch. Don't tell him you told him so. Don't be a bitch. You could be a bitch at work, but don't be a bitch to your husband. And don't go at him like, I told you so. I knew better. Okay, sorry. No one wants to hear that. Don't do that. It's ugly. It's not cute. And quite frankly, this is why men have affairs. They go find another play toy that's a lot more fun that's not going to nag him.
Well, because when you nag, nagging is mothering. Yes. If you mother a man, you're going to emasculate him.
Don't tell him to do his laundry. Don't give him a chore list.
And it's really important that feminine cores, especially, I think it's important for everybody, but especially for feminine that's going to surrender to somebody's lead, is that you date for character. Mm-hmm. You're not dating the hottest man you've ever seen, because feminine picks with their ears, not their eyes. It's what they say and do adding up, because feminine date for safety and for character. If you date for character, you're not going to have to nag your husband, because you've already done the groundwork in the dating pool. and in the dating relationship to know who that person is so that you can trust his lead. But if you date just because somebody looks pretty and they're a complete asshole and then you marry them, that's your fault. And you chose wrong and you were a man and you failed and that's on you. Stop nagging your husband. If you want to get a divorce, then get a divorce. But don't sit there and try to make him do better, different, or more. Like, if you're asking for more, better, or different, then you are mothering and you are the problem. And get a divorce and start over and date for character this time and trust somebody's character, because if you picked wrong because you didn't date for character and you dated because he's some hot piece of ass, then you're the masculine. So you either need to step into the masculine role in the relationship and let him be the feminine, or you need to get out of the relationship because you made a mistake. So we date, and even men, I would say, date for character. Date a woman that has virtue and is kind and loving and soft. Don't go after these hyper masculine women and then try to tame her.
Instagram
because
bullshit.
Yeah, like all of these Instagram baddies and OnlyFans women that sell their bodies are in their masculine and they're fucked in the head. Let me tell you,
You're not the only
I
man.
have met quite a few of them, and they are so money hungry and so sex hungry. That is being a man. They do not value relationships. They do not value other human beings. They're not focused on feminine based feelings and energy. They manipulate using sex and money. They're in a very dark place. I don't care what anybody says. Go listen to our podcast on the girl that slept with 101 men in 24 hours. That's insanity to me. That's OnlyFans culture.
She's gonna do 1,000, but then apparently the world record was already broke. It's like 1,575 men in 12 hours.
Okay, that's insanity. I can't even.
Hashtag disgusting.
But our next
Not
podcast,
virtuous.
if you liked this one, our next podcast is actually going to be on the reverse. So this will give you like an entire concept of just what this actually means in communications on both sides. But yeah, I think did you have anything else for today?
No, I think that's it. I think just like overall, the biggest thing is to remember, if you have to go back and listen to this a few times, please do, because it's a hard concept, especially if we're raised to be a little boy, or like we're always asked about like what you achieved and what you thought growing up. Flipping that whole thing in your brain to talking about your feelings and talking about what you don't want and realizing what doesn't feel good and communicating that is really hard at first. And so give yourself some time and some like grace.
Yeah.
I know at first when these concepts, like when our mentor was like teaching us this concept and I was becoming more feminine, it was really hard to be like, I feel this way and be vulnerable, because it's vulnerability. But just have some grace for yourself, patience. If you don't get it right the first time, the world is not going to end, I promise. But I think that's it.
Yeah. Ask us questions below.
Yeah, so like, share, follow, and of course, if you have any comments, questions, or anything that you want us to talk about, please share it. Also, we always would love a review on Apple or Spotify, and of course on YouTube if you're following us and watching these live. But for now, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.